White walls all around. It almost looked like a hospital. It was clean. White tiles, white sink, white walls, and the roof was white. Since the earliest of times, white has been associated with purity and innocence. Then again, asylums are generally white, and they reflect the exact opposite of purity and innocence. Instead, those white walls hold the mentally insane, those that are not of sound mind and are a danger to themselves and others. The irony of the contrast between the two varying white rooms is ludicrous. He looked into the mirror. Deep brown eyes gazed back at him. The freckles surrounding his nose looked as though God himself spread flakes on his face to create him. His brown hair sat atop his head, unkempt. He scratched his head to cure a sudden itch and continued to stare at himself. His reflection stared back, unmoving. He opened the faucet and let the cold stream of water pour into the sink. After a moment he cupped his hands beneath the water and scooped what he salvaged in his hands onto his face. Some of the water splashed onto the floor. He didn't seem to notice. He stood there for a moment more, face dripping with water, still staring into the mirror. What he saw disgusted him, and he washed his face once more, almost as if he was trying to wash his very skin off in the hope something more appealing lay beneath the first layer. He opened the medicine cabinet and slowly extracted a small box. He set the box on the sink and opened it. He removed a single shiny razor and placed it beside the box. He returned the box from whence it came and picked up the razor once more. He turned it in his hands thoughtfully, not diverting his gaze from the mirror. Razor in hand, he rolled up the sleeve of his long-sleeve black shirt that he had worn to both parents' funerals. The thought crossed him that both his parents had since departed this world, but not a single hint of emotion prevailed from this morbid thought. He glanced at his now exposed wrist and back to the razor. The moment the blade touched his skin, he drew in a quick, sharp breath. The icy feel of the metal made him hesitate for a moment. The razor shimmered in the artificial lighting of the fluorescent light bulb hanging directly above him. He put the blade down and sat on the end of the bathtub, head in hands and breathing deeply. He glanced at the weapon of self-harm and then at his wrists. Then back to the sharp, unforgiving steel he had placed on the edge of the sink. He wondered how it would feel to cut so deep the blood poured out of his sliced wrist, to see his blood spill and cover everything around him. The thought of blood made him smile slightly, ever so slightly. It was but merely a wisp of a smile, if even that. He liked blood. The thought of blood made him think of the time he took the life of a stray cat he had lured into his home, how it had purred contentedly while he had petted and stroked it, followed by the hiss of terror it let loose when he squeezed and bit into one of its ears, bit so hard he felt the cartilage crunch under the pressure of his teeth, but not before his teeth had ripped into the skin. The blood that spewed from the missing cartilage crunch under the pressure of his teeth, but not before his teeth had ripped into the skin. The blood that spewed from the missing appendage had excited him, and he laughed ever so sweetly at the sight of the feline's ear he had spat on the floor. The sounds the cat made were otherworldly, and one can only imagine the pain it was in after having an ear forcibly removed. He held onto it tightly, so tight it had become become so breathless the sounds of agony had simply faded into desperate attempts to draw even breath to sustain its miserable life. Still chuckling softly to himself, now covered in the blood of the cat, he reached into his pocket and brought out the Swiss Army knife he'd accumulated through less than desirable means. He looked at the blade after opening it, marvelling at the craftsmanship behind making such a beautiful, smooth and sharp blade. His thoughts made their way back to the cat, and he turned the cat onto its back, lifting its head to expose the throat. With a slow, precise movement he had practiced in his head, he drew the blade deep and across the exposed neck of the cat. He sliced deep, but not deep enough to sever the head. All sounds and movements the cat had been capable of carrying out ceased immediately the moment the knife penetrated and severed the blood transport systems. The blood that resulted brought a magnificent and eerily beautiful smile to the boy's face. The blood sprayed him and the surrounding vicinity, but that did not faze him. Instead, he hoisted the cat up and shook it violently in an effort to see just how much blood he could extract from the deceased animal. That was but the first of many animals that met their end at the hands of the sadist. He picked the blade up again, a glimmer of excitement in his eye as he pressed it to his wrist. He shuddered as the cold steel touched him, just as he had done to that cat. He pressed deep and hard and drew the razor in a swift upward motion. The cut was thin, as he was using a new sharp razor, but the pain was intense. He felt as though someone had set fire to his wrist. The blood was little at first, and came out slowly, but as he set the razor down, he noticed the floor beneath him was covered in blood. His hand could not be seen beneath the blanket of red that now covered it. The blood would not stop pouring forth from his self-inflicted wound. He had cut too deep. He knew something was wrong the moment he set the razor down. With each bit of blood that escaped his body, it seemed to take with it an incredible amount of his energy. He slumped into the bathtub, blood beginning to puddle in it. His eyes fluttered open after having closed for a stint of time. He tried to raise his hand, but found he could not. Blood was all he could see now. It was everywhere. The bathtub seemed to be filling with it as it continued to pour from his wrist. He couldn't seem to keep his eyes open. They closed. He tried to open them, but found he could not. He could feel the darkness beginning to take him. He wanted to fight it, but his life force had been sapped with the immense outflow of blood. He decided the best thing to do would be to accept it. Eyes closed, he tilted his head back, and did not even feel it hit the porcelain tub with the force it did. He couldn't feel anything now. It began to almost feel euphoric. He felt disembodied. Nothing mattered. All that existed was the darkness. He wanted the darkness, and the darkness wanted him. It needed him. The darkness took him, and he went, with a smile on his face. He liked blood. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Sam was living his life happily up to the age of 16. He then thought he was having hallucinations and felt like he was having some sort of breakdown. But what he really was going through is the truth of reality. He doesn't know, is he the only one in the world with this? I couldn't say it's a problem, because it's a gift and a curse what he has. What he has tapped into for some reason is what no one actually can. Sam has discovered that he has slipped into different realities many times in alternate universes. But the thing is, this is nothing special. This happens us all, but we are not conscious of it. Let's say we do slip into another reality, then we are not conscious of it. We have no memory of it. But the difference with Sam is he does. He has memories of different realities of his own life. He knows he is a very talented basketball player in one reality. He is in a jail for juveniles in his next. He never really knows when he is going to stay in a certain reality for more than a few months because his time slips are fragmented. He doesn't actually remember all of the realities, of course. He bounces back and forth, but not every second. Maybe he does, but those memories don't come true. Just some. It is driving him crazy. He wondered what would happen if someday he died. In reality, would he come back alive? One day he found out. He was walking down the road and was preoccupied, trying to figure out how he wouldn't drive himself completely insane when a huge truck ran him over and killed him instantly. He woke up and wondered was he in another reality, but had discovered that he was in heaven. It was all white and it couldn't be anywhere else. He was sorry to be dead, but very happy to be in heaven, and thankful that he wasn't going to slip into another reality. Suddenly he had a voice in his head tell him that there was one more reality waiting for him, and that would be it. That would be the last one. He was thankful that he was going to get his life back and be able to live like everyone else. When he slipped into the final reality, he felt hot and screamed in agony, realizing he was in hell. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Darren was looking forward to his live stream. He was driving home from an interview with a publishing company about a publishing deal he had just signed. He was really looking forward to write his first book and was so thankful he was given the chance to be able to write one. He knew that his fans were very loyal to him, so he was glad he had something to share with them. He viewed his fans as his friends. When he got home, he got everything ready for the live stream and started talking about how his meeting went and how he is looking forward so much to get his first book published. He said, "Hey everyone, thanks so much for your support, and I have something really important and special to share with you. I am just back from a meeting tonight with this awesome publishing company, and I will be publishing my first book very soon." Suddenly Darren heard a noise outside. He said to himself and his viewers, "What was that?" Then he went over to his window and looked out. He could see 3 police cars outside across his street. He took another look, then went back and told his fans what was happening. He thought maybe his neighbours had a fight, but he hoped whatever it was, everyone would be okay. He continued the stream until a few minutes later his door burst open. A man held a gun straight to his head and there was a shot. The shot hit the man in the leg and the police arrested him. It turned out to be a jealous fan who envied the success of Darren, who would have loved his success being an influencer. Darren made a video the next day and named it The Insane Influencer. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.